This is an update and discussion on the OROVILLE Dam, March 9th, 2017, Thursday. As most people know, on February 12th, there was an emergency evacuation order issued for almost 200,000 people below the OROVILLE Dam, as they felt at that point that there was going to be an imminent collapse of the emergency spillway, which was activated for the first time in the history of the dam as a result of certainly the failure of the primary spillway, but also unprecedented rain and snow pack in the Sierras and generally throughout California through January. It was very much exacerbated when the so-called Pineapple Express proceeded to dump 8, 10, 12 inches of rain on even some of the highest areas in the Sierra Nevada, which at that point, some of them had 300, 400, 500 inches of snow to the season to date. So that snow is and was very, very, very water heavy snow in a lot of locations. So anyways, bringing us up to today, they managed to bring the lake down over the last 3 or 4 weeks to something as low, I think, as about 835 feet. And what they had just been running the damaged primary spillway. They were finally able to stop it once that lake level got down to those levels, and of course it revealed some pretty astounding damage to it. It's a number of people, I think, are saying it's just not going to be usable anytime too soon. So they had to they've shored it up as best they can. They're doing all sorts of really what has to be considered Herculean efforts to try and shore this thing up. But I wanted to bring up today where I see the real issue with this dam, and it's at the would be the north end, I think, of the emergency spillway where it meets the parking lot, because you can see that all along that's where the problem has been. You could see on the 12th that that's what was happening. You could see that the water was going right where the edge of the last bit of the emergency spillway wall was, where it meets the parking lot there, and you could see the erosion happening. You can see it in the photos that day. You can see it afterwards that river ran down there, and the flow I don't think was all that great through there. But what I'm pretty sure they were real worried that was going to start undercutting and eventually, eat into between there, and then you've got a breach at that end, and there's absolutely nothing they could have done about it. So that's probably where the gist of the whole thrust of the need to do the emergency evacuation was. So that brings us up to today. As of today, the lake this morning, I think was pushing that 860 mark, where they feel they're going to have to get the the primary spillway back in some form of operation, which, when you look at the damage after this thing has stopped, they're playing with dynamite. I mean, the erosion and that's eating through it, they're showing now that the bedrock there is sort of inconsistent. So the bottom line is that's kind of real concerning that they're going to have to turn that back on. Now, the good side is that they have diligently worked to clear the diversion channel, I guess they call it, so that the power plant, they can get I think up to 15,000 CFS going through the power plant, which would be another relief on the system overall. But as far as I can see, ultimately, unless they have a really miraculously sedate, cool, extended spring, they're going to have that emergency spillway is going to get used again. And if it does, they're going to have the same scenario. Even though they patched it up, the water's going to go up. It's going to overwhelm that parking lot area, which it very easily did. And it illustrates the primary design flaw of this dam. And they really just needed to make that spillway, maybe 8, 10, 12 feet lower, so that it was much below the level of that parking lot. Because I guarantee you, they never once said, well, that parking lot could be underwater someday. And even on the 12th, when I got into a discussion with a gentleman, a geologist from DWR, who I think was doing damage control on Facebook, he was saying, well, the parking lot's expendable. And I thought, well, no, the parking lot's not really expendable if it provides the way that your upper, that spillway gets breached. So that area is the problem. So I'll get into what I think needs to be done about that. All right, so before I get into this this radical, crazy-ass design modification fix that I'm going to propose, I'm going to get back into the Sierra snowpack, because that's, that is far and away the X factor here. This is the image now that's up is from, I think, weatherstreet.com. It shows the central and northern California Sierra snowpack, today, basically, as of today, March 9th. And you can see it's essentially a water time bomb up above all these different dam systems and watersheds and levees and stuff. And it's, I can't even imagine it. That better not let go in a hurry. Hopefully California will not have one of its, epic last week in March or first week in April heat waves, because that would really be bad news. But so getting back to the dam and what they need to do, because there's going to be constant pressure on this thing, regardless if they're going to have to deal with that primary spillway. Once there's a relatively stable weather later on, the warm part of the summer part of the year, they're going to have to deal with it. But it seems doubtful to me that they're going to be able to repair that properly. When you look at the damage, it's astounding. So what I think that they really need to do is they need to get, look for the biggest contractor people on the planet, experts for concrete, and look into cutting a notch on the right-hand side of that emergency spillway, right up near the observation deck there. Maybe, I don't know, as wide as the primary spillway, whatever, 10, 15, however many feet deep they can figure out would significantly keep the water away from that other end of the emergency spillway, because they absolutely have to do that. And I understand it might be a bit of a challenge, but it's 2017, and you got to figure that with that kind of life and property and overall produce, overall effect on the economy at stake here, that they would look into that solution, because to me, I don't see a way out of it. If they have to use that emergency spillway, even with all the lovely patching that they've done, it's going to do the same thing. It's going to go up there, water's going to overwhelm that parking lot, and it's going to find its way around there, and eventually you're going to have a real sticky situation again, and maybe with no other way out at that point. So that's my idea. Get these, whether it's feasible, I don't really know. I've done a little bit of research, and there seems to be people out there who can cut concrete. I don't know how, fairly thick. I wasn't able to get a good gauge of how thick it was, but supposedly an inch an minute, which would be a pretty good rate. If you could do that in a couple of days, you'd have that notch. You'd have to figure out the rebar, where the rebar is and was. But I think at this point it's worth at least exploring it as a feasibility. So anyways, there's my idea. Hope you liked the video. Give me a shout out. Thanks.